With Quicksilver just being released, I feel like the number one question right now is who is better between Scorpion and Quicksilver? And I thought rather than just answering that straight up, I would just release this video and allow you, the viewer, to pick for yourselves on who you think is better. So in this video, I have 6 sections. I have the damage in a short fight, I have the damage in a long fight, I have the utility, I have the signature ability, I have the practicality, and then I have the conclusion. So keep in mind that in this video, this is a part 1. And this part is going to be without the recoil masteries and without synergies. The next part will have the recoil masteries and it will have the synergies involved as well. So just keep that in mind when you watch this video. And yeah, let's get right into it. So we're going to start off with the damage in a short fight. And I feel like this is just like completely equal between the two. Like the times are so close that like it's just anyone's game. So with Quicksilver, he has a certain rotation where you spam SP1 2 times, you get to your SP2, you do a 3-hit combo, and then that causes the whiplash to expire, then you drop the SP2 with the trauma, and then that should be it. So that's the rotation I use for this fight because it's a shorter fight, and you don't have to do this full rotation because it's a ton of overkill. So why am I doing a short health fight? And that's just because this health pool is it's like the health pool of a Battlegrounds match, And I feel like that's gonna be one of the most prevalent game modes in the entire game. So I feel like it's good to understand how to perform in a health pool like this. So Quicksilver is almost ready to detonate. I drop the SP2 here, and then he just completely gets wrecked. So that was a 54-second KO, I believe. Yep, right on the money. And now it's time to see how a Scorpion does in this matchup. So Scorpion's rotation is just SP1 into SP2, just build up your Sting debuffs, charge your heavy attack for the Torments, the usual Scorpion things. And like I said in the beginning, the times are very, very close. I feel like they're so close to the point where it's just equal, because keep in mind, not every fight is perfect. Not every fight is just going to be the optimal one, and that's the one you have to, go by all the time. No. Every fight can always be better, and it can always be worse, But I feel like I just need to let my talking do the work rather than just, showing these fights and, let these things be the deciding factor. So, yeah, we're almost done with this matchup. We just need to drop, one more SP2, and then it's done. And you can see Deadpool's being kind of passive, so that's why I would take off a few seconds, if you will. And yeah, now we just build the Torments, drop a major SP2 that we can't see the full damage of, unfortunately. And yeah, that was 57 seconds, I believe. So I know what you're thinking. Realm of Legends, is that really a long matchup? And I feel like for a 565 with 0 synergies and not the recoil masteries, that yes, this is a long matchup, I feel like Act 7 health pools aren't even this big, so in my opinion, this is a long matchup. And so the rotation for Quicksilver in this type of matchup is building up your Whiplashes, dropping the SP2 when you have 49, and then dropping the SP1 right when they're about to expire, so you just get one big detonation. So I'm building up to it right now. I'm almost in terminal velocity, and once I hit that, then I'll be safe to drop the SP2. So now we are in terminal velocity, so that means it's time to drop the SP2. We build up some more Whiplashes before dropping the big SP2. We want to get to 48 or 50 ideally. So we get to I think 48, I believe, which is the perfect amount in my opinion. So right here we drop it, and now it's doubled. Now it's at 96. We do a couple more combos to build up the Whiplashes a little bit more, and then we finally drop the SP1 for the increased attack rating, and bam, a 400,000 detonation. Absolutely incredible. Now we just need to detonate them one more time, and then we should be good. And yeah, I believe that was 136, which is it's a phenomenal time for a 565 without the recoil masteries, in my opinion. So now it's time for Scorpion, and Scorpion's fight went a little bit differently. There was a point where like I kind of dropped some shocks off of her. I think she was at like 15, and it went down to 10 when I did my first SP2. So that, of course, is like a bit of a damage loss, but I feel like it just goes to show that this character isn't necessarily perfect when it comes to ramping up his damage output, and you just never know, you know. But yeah, so far this fight is going pretty well. She's really playing into my taunt, which is perfect because you want her to throw special attacks because of the sting debuffs, you know? So now we're just trying to build up to the SP2. I mess up here big time, and I just didn't build enough power. So now I have to bait out her SP1, and now I only have 10 sting debuffs, which is unfortunate, but it still leads to pretty good damage. So yeah, it's a pretty good sting for like no synergies or no recoil masteries, you know? And now we're trying to build up to the next SP2, which should be significantly better, and it indeed is. So now we're just playing it slow, just trying to get as many sting debuffs as we can before I drop the next SP2. Luckily, she misses that. Like, that was a bit risky to do, but now we have a ton of torment, and that just leads to some amazing damage output right there. And now we're just letting the sting debuffs do the work at this point, you know? We're just letting them slowly take her out as we're just trying to build to the next SP2. And yeah, like I said, the sting debuffs are just doing all the work. I don't even think we need the SP2 at the end. I could have just thrown the SP1 to try to like make it go faster, but she was gonna melt anyway just from this last sting debuff. Alright, so that was 149. And I feel like it could have been better. So I like redid it later on, and I got like 136, which of course is a better time, but I just didn't record it, unfortunately. So like, it just goes to show how not every fight is perfect, and how, you know, you can't really just go off with just one matchup. I feel like in a comparison, this just straight up goes to Quicksilver. He just offers more utility as a whole, I believe. Scorpion has amazing utility, you know, the fact that he can select his immunities and his damage output is amazing, and the fact that he has a really easy access to taunt allows him to take some certain matchups, but I just feel like in comparison to Quicksilver, it just isn't enough in my opinion. But Scorpion handles the fights he was made for really, really well. Like this Man-Thing, for example, you know, he's immune to the poison. He can just dish out shock, which Man-Thing is not immune to, so it just leads to a really good time. And I feel like that is the thing, that Scorpion, in the matchups he's made for, is just like a really, really good time, and he's really easy, and he's really practical to use in that matchup, you know, which is perfect. That's what you want in a character. So I'm really glad that Scorpion is really good at what he does, but I just feel like Quicksilver just does a bit more overall, you know? So that was a pretty like clean matchup, and it was a pretty fast matchup too. That was 124, I believe. And speaking of his taunt, we're here in the Gauntlet, but this time I don't have synergies and I don't have the recoil mastery, so it's going to look a bit longer than, you know, the initial time I did it. So, but it may look longer, but the fact is he still does it really, really well. And that's just like the takeaway from this video, is that even though their damage is really gimped, well, not really gimped, but like it's still quite gimped without the recoil masteries and without synergies, what they do, they still do it well. It's just like that they're doing it with like less damage output, which is fine, you know. Not everyone has to be like a complete damage god, which I still feel like their damage is still really good. It's just that like it's not what it is with the full recoil masteries and full synergies, obviously, though, you know. So yeah, I feel like these characters are so good even without like all that like setup, you know, like with the recoil masteries and with synergies. But I'm just like really happy like that these characters are just so well and they're so good at what they do. So Scorpion, you know, 4 minutes, which is fine if you're a rank 2 6-star. And now it's time for Quicksilver. And Quicksilver, he just does what he does so well. Like, his slow is one of the easiest to access in the entire game. His withers are so useful. His miss counter is so useful. He can counter regeneration in like 7 debuffs, same thing with Scorpion. Like, they just both do a ton. And I feel like their utility is so unique, to be honest. Like, I feel like they're just so different when it comes to utility, but I just think Quicksilver just does more. So that's why I would be more lenient on Quicksilver when it comes to the utility side of like this comparison. I feel like the damage side is really, really equal, but for utility, I would just have to give it to Quicksilver. So now we're going to drop the SP2 here, double up the Whiplashes, and then that should be it. But the way he controlled this matchup was phenomenal. I'm really happy with this performance in this matchup. And now we're going to drop the SP1 just for good measure, and she melts. So that was 113, a faster time than Scorpion as well. Oh no, that was only 110, which is even better, you know. So now we're here in this Spider-Man matchup as well, and this has a ton of miss, and it has a ton of evade. So, you know, that perfect Quicksilver matchup to, like, counter, you know. And Quicksilver just deals with it so well. He has access to slow, he has access to a miss counter, and he gets those things really early on in the matchup. Like, in one single hit, he'll have it. So that's, like, just an amazing thing to have, and it's just proven here. So here we finish off the matchup pretty much. We just need to do, like, one more 3 combo into the SP1, and then yeah, that wraps that up. Now this matchup is 113. So Quicksilver did his fights faster, and I feel like he just did it more efficiently as well. So I would just give the utility section to Quicksilver. I feel like overall I would just give this to Quicksilver because he has the prestige to back it up as well. And I feel like he just benefits more from having the signature ability. It is a really strong signature ability. As you saw in the video, it has like this super speed mechanic like after a ton of Whiplash expire, but he also increases terminal velocity by 5 seconds and increases his wither stacks by 3, and that's like a pretty big deal for him in my opinion. And I feel like it's just a really useful signature ability to have, even at Sig 1, but at Sig 200 it's just even better because of like the terminal velocity. Scorpion's signature ability, I feel like, is just really niche, but it's really fun when you can pull it off. Yeah, there's like not really too much to talk about it. It's just a really niche signature ability, but I feel like it's definitely worth having. But mainly at just Sig 1, because I feel like as you give more signature stones, I feel like it's just like not really worth it because it does have a cap, and I feel like it's so easy to reach that cap as well. So I feel like they both have great signature abilities, but I just feel like Quicksilver is more worth investing signature stones into. This isn't a shot at Scorpion, this is just a praise for Quicksilver, because Quicksilver is one of the most practical characters in the entire game. And while I'm showing this clip right now of Scorpion, just like what happens when Scorpion has bad AI, that's not the takeaway of this section. The takeaway is that Quicksilver is one of the most practical characters ever designed, in my opinion. And like you can see right here that I-Bomb just isn't throwing a special, and because of that we just lose all of our damage. We even had the taunt up, and he just still like didn't throw a special attack. And now when we throw the SV2, it just does like 0 damage. Quicksilver, on the other hand, it's so easy to keep up his debuffs because you can do it by like ending with a medium attack. You can do it by dexing. You can do it by your SP1. It's just so easy to keep them maintained, and I think it's just like such a good mechanic because it's such a practical thing, you know. Overall, I feel like both of these characters are incredible. I feel like I can't give my personal opinion on this, so I feel like it's time for you to decide. Scorpion has a ton of utility, has a ton of damage, but I feel like to unlock that you really want full synergies at least. So that's like my thoughts on Scorpion, like after this showcase. Let me know your thoughts on him. I am really interested to see like y'all's thoughts on Scorpion, especially in this certain scenario. Quicksilver, I feel like, has the same amount of damage and just like a bit more utility. I feel like his practicality is like better than Scorpion's as well. But I feel like they both have their weaknesses, they both have their pretty big strengths, and I feel like they're still like just phenomenal characters. And I just want to know your thoughts on like who you think is better between the two. I cannot give my answer just yet. I feel like I need to save that for another video. And yeah, just let me know your thoughts on this video as a whole. And yeah, that's about it for me.